Bush.
Dave took all the toffee
No,
ones
I
out.
did. There's like at least one left.
I'm just harassing him.
My one,
He did.
my one vice, like chocolate. is-
Yes. I wish I
Don't
could
drink.
say. Oh, yeah.
I don't even really, like, I don't drink soda anymore, and then I buy
I don't
dark
drink
chocolate.
soda
I have
either.
stacks of dark chocolate.
What's your favorite dark? Oh, you know what they had at Costco, the dark chocolate, like the snacking chocolate? With mint.
So,
And it's not like, it's good, because it's like a piece of candy cane in there.
Oh, I heard you.
every once in a while, grocery outlet will have these bags of little individually wrapped dark chocolate. They're phenomenal. And then I went to Aldi yesterday.
It was,
Mhm.
We don't
So
have
what?
Aldi. It's a
Yeah.
Oh,
grocery
I've
store.
heard of that, yeah.
I think
I don't know what the
it's funny,
off brand is, but I bought this dark chocolate, salted
Yeah.
dark chocolate, and it was phenomenal. So
Maybe I'll just-
I snuck back
I've
in and
heard
grabbed
it's
another bar.
recommended a lot.
It's a very, I think it's like supposed to be like a European
So-
market.
South
feel.
America.
You know the story behind Aldi? So there was Aldi Nord and Aldi South. They're German.
Okay,
Aldi Nord wanted to go like nickel like a dime store.
yeah.
And Aldi Nord, he wanted to go upper scale. So they split. Aldi Nord went upscale, Aldi South went lower scale. And they purchased Trader Joe's here. So Aldi, I think it's South,
Yeah,
is Trader Joe's here, and then they have Aldi
Okay.
stores as well.
That makes
There
sense
you go.
because like it's all like their own, like basically rebranded everything else. You don't go in to buy Kellogg's, you buy all their.
Right, all their Aldi stuff, like all the Trader Joe's stuff.
But yeah, they have some
There you go.
amazing stuff.
So Jeff was in the grocery business for a while. So he's got all this.
yeah.
Should say he was in a grocery market. Right.
well, there you go.
No, I don't, it's not showing up, so.
Yeah.
It's yeah, so we're good. So we're blue.
What's he printing?
Some now flyers.
Oh, very.
Did you get questions printed?
Oh, I'll do it right now. Sorry.
Sorry.
How many copies do we need?
I'm good.
I'm good.
I need 20. No, I'm just kidding. I'm only kidding. That's a sign I might have been sitting here too long. Just say.
So now I just go to this.
Yes. You're gonna ask questions this time.
Now good.
No, let me rephrase that.
Cindy's
Jake,
doing
you're
a
asking
great
us-
job.
Jake, you're being assigned.
Okay, I mean, again,
Let me refrain.
I was enjoying Cindy running the show. She did a great job.
Thank you.
It's on the AE side.
You missed out a whole hour of me asking questions.
Yes,
Oh.
all right. Welcome back, everybody. Are we on, Lisa?
Yeah.
All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Pam Wagner. I'm the board chair. This is, go ahead and
Jake.
introduce yourself.
Co-chair?
And I'm Cindy Powell.
Jay Clark.
And I understand you guys are gonna do a demonstration first, and then we'll ask you questions.
Sure.
Correct.
Okay,
Great.
Could we pause 1 second? I'm sorry.
It's not working?
We're having a problem. We had it going, the live feed, and it is not going right now.
we've maxed out our
There we
YouTube
go.
capabilities.
Got squirrels gotta
There's a
catch up. to.
sign, yeah.
And there's some chocolate over there in
It's
that
always,
bowl if you want it.
they've done it.
We'll see how this goes.
Oh, no, everybody deserves chocolate.
I just needed something. Sweet wise.
Yeah, you've got a full day here, don't you?
Yes.
Nonstop.
We've just got a couple people out there watching that we are checking with
Oh, to make it sure
to
that.
make sure they can see and hear us.
See how.
Okay,
Yeah, I
she's
have.
got that. Okay, we're good.
We're good?
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
the floor is yours.
Okay, well, thanks for the introductions. Great to meet all of you. So we've got our own introductions here. We've got a really short presentation, so I know you said
That's all right.
10 minutes. We're gonna try to do less than that. We definitely want to get to the Q&A part. And you've seen our qualifications, you know about us. So really, I think this is the chance to see how we interact, see if we're a good fit and all that. And of course, you'll learn that from the question and answer part. So that said, so I am Brandon Wheel. I'm a principal here with Design West. I'm going on 18 years with the company. I started out way back in the day as an intern architect. And, you know, as things go, progressed to being one of the owners and helping run the place. So I'll be the lead principal on this project if we're fortunate enough to be selected.
And I'm Jeff Brewer, project manager with Design West. I met some of you, I think, during the Middleton Heights roofing project. I was in here for a brief meeting. I've been with Design West going on 11 years as a project manager. Most of my background is in construction, as Brandon said, specifically building Whole Food stores in Southern California for like 20 years. Then moved here and have been with Design West as a project manager. For this project, I'll be writing the specifications. That's the thick spec book that goes along with the plans that talks about execution of installation and products. And then I would be the on-site representative for Design West while under construction.
I'm Travis Burrows. My role for this project will be a production manager. And I've been with Design West just over 14 years. My first project with Design West was the new Middleton High School.
And I'm Bill Carter from Musgrove Engineering. We do the mechanical, electrical, plumbing aspects of the project.
And so we brought Bill Carter because he's, of course, a great resource. A big part of the project is the MEP portion of it. So hopefully you'll have some questions for him. It looks like you might. Double click that. Just a couple of really quick things about Design West. So we do have 5 office locations, 4 of those which are fully staffed throughout the Northwest. Our main office is here in Meridian, just down the road. Currently, we have a staff of 38. We've been in business for just over 40 years now. No sense, I guess, in talking about all this information here, but we've got 10 architects on staff along with the support that comes with that. And then our experience really includes primarily education. I'll talk a little bit more about that later, but 54 new elementary schools, 12 middle schools, 19 high schools. That number at the bottom has grown quite a bit, but a substantial number of additions, remodels, et cetera. Okay, just to kind of give you a visual picture of what our staff looks like. So on the left-hand side, that's our staff company-wide. Our Meridian office has 11, and then the rest are, of course, available to call upon as needed for projects in those other offices that I mentioned. And then this org chart that you see on the right is in the statement of qualifications as well. Really, that's just showing what the makeup of the project would be, who's taking the lead, who's running project management responsibilities, our project coordinator, Travis noted for production manager, and then beyond that is consultants and other internal staff. Double clicking that, sorry. Quick list. Obviously, I don't expect anybody to read all of these, but a list of elementary projects that we've completed in the last roughly 20 years. Probably more, actually, in the case of some of those. And then figured I'd highlight some of our experience with Middleton School District specifically. So we go back almost 30 years, actually, starting with Heights Elementary. We came on to that one in 1985, definitely before my time here. And from there, moved on to Mill Creek Elementary about 10 years later, the Middleton High School gym, which of course is now the middle school. Then the addition at Middleton Current Middle School. Middleton High School rebuilt. So this one's actually pretty close to my heart. This was one of the first projects that I worked on with Design West. So it occurred to me that you've actually just barely passed the 17-year anniversary of that school burning down. And I definitely remember being in the office and we all were watching it on the news, tragic, obviously, event. I got involved in that right away, and I would say that I almost single-handedly drew that addition in about 4 months to try to get it going again. And then Travis mentioned Middleton High School, so that was the first project that he completed with us. That was one of mine as well. And a lot of miscellaneous projects as well for Middleton, so maybe no need to note all of them, but various re-roofs, remodels, et cetera. The point of this is certainly not to say we've worked with Middleton for a long time, you should definitely hire us, but more to highlight that we have long histories with the school districts that we work with. This could just as easily be Valley View School District, Caldwell School District, any of the number of other districts that we do work with. So we value and pride ourselves on long relationships with school districts. See if I can click this just once. So that's our introduction. We're excited for your questions.
Okay.
Awesome. We'll dive in. Please share construction management firms you have successfully worked with in the past.
Okay. And I should say, so I'll be taking the questions and then distributing them to people I think are best suited to answer those. You'll probably get answers from a couple of people just because we have a little bit different insight, but start with Jeff on that one.
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. Yeah, we've worked with all the major CM or CMGC contractors in the Treasure Valley. We currently are working with Benetton Construction, with the Valley View School District, Homedale School District, Mountain Home School District, and Gooding School District. We're also currently working with ESI, with the Child School District and the Stanley School District. We're also working with CM Company, with the McCall School District and the Ontario School District. We've had past projects with Petra, EKC, Wright Brothers, Ewing Company, Kreisenbeck, Russell Corp, Sletton, all the big names in the Treasure Valley that you've probably solicited response to your RFQ from. And currently working with the two that were selected to interview with you. Got a long-term relationship with Benetton.
So our history with Benetton goes back as far as they've been in business, quite honestly. I couldn't tell you how many schools it's been, but probably 30 to 40 if we started adding them up. And then of those projects that Jeff mentioned, so CMGC, we're seeing more of that certainly in the last few years in Idaho. So as far as those projects, we just wrapped up Homedale High School with Benetton as a CMGC. Those projects that Jeff mentioned for CM Company, those are both CMGC, so Ontario, Donnelly, and then some stuff we've been doing with West Ada for them as well. And then the projects with ESI, those are both CMGC format, so in addition up in Stanley. And then Butte County School District over in Arco, we're just kicking off that project with them actually. Neither of those are huge, to be honest, but it's going great so far.
Cool. Can you describe what an initial meeting with a district would include and how you'd proceed forward from that point?
Sure, so I can take that one at least to start here. So the initial meeting is really where we get together the owner, architect, and CMGC team and any other major players especially from the district, and really start establishing what the scope of the project is, what the goals are. Could be in the first meeting, could be later, but we'll go through budget, start talking about program and conceptual schedule, and ultimately just figuring out what the goals for the project are and where we go from there. Subsequent meetings could involve different staff members, so at some point we'll certainly get maintenance involved, board members if you're interested in the process, various administrators, community members usually would be involved at some point. Again, probably not that first meeting, but that's up to you. You're in the driver's seat, of course. And then topics, we would just expand upon what we established in the beginning. So programming, educational specifications, starting to look at sites. Again, starting to refine that budget based on early information that we've looked at and determined. So really, that's I guess, coming up with a plan of attack is where we start.
Could I ask a quick question?
Mhm.
Could you talk a little bit about what you've seen in your experience, what a public meeting looks like that you've been a part of or you've been a part of organizing, just so that we get a feel for what that kind of thing
And
would be.
you could probably encompass that into the next question, which is the best way for encouraging input from patrons in the design process.
Okay. Well, we've seen a few different formats actually for that, so I'll talk about maybe the main two. So the first one would be actually putting together a building and or bond committee and starting there with the project. So that's a good way to involve the community. Usually it's not like an open forum for everybody in the community, but the district or the committee tries to pull members from different groups within the community to be involved in that, really as a spokesperson or a conduit for the information. And really those meetings can happen as frequently as needed. Typically they're about a monthly meeting. It just depends on how fast you're going. And then beyond that, if it's more of an open community meeting for anybody to attend, so often that is led by the superintendent, and we're there in a capacity to answer questions that may come up about design, budget, et cetera. Typically the contractor would be there as well. And really that's more, I guess, a forum for asking questions, providing input. So those are kind of the main two that I would see. We've also done a little bit later in the project, but design charrettes. So if you want to talk about, really bringing the community in and looking at plans that are very conceptual in nature, getting feedback on those. Really just a chance for open communication, open feedback. I guess kind of for the second part of that, which is really are we on the third question here?
Yeah.
So encouraging input, and Travis actually has a little bit on this as well, but ultimately the goal is to make it as easy as possible for patrons to be heard, and not just easy, but to encourage that feedback. We want them to feel heard. We want to get that feedback from them, and not every format allows for that. I mean, we could be talking about community surveys that go back, but those are pretty limited on what information can be provided unless you're asking the right questions. So I think a matter of just getting people in a room or a space and being able to just openly share information is the best format. Travis, expansions on that?
Certainly. Yeah. So besides just the meetings, we can always offer tours of existing school facilities, something similar to the same concept you're going for. And then on our end, besides being available for the meetings, we can produce conceptual drawings, renderings of projects or exhibits for past projects, flyers for handout during that, either at the meetings or building tours. Being able to utilize existing groups, or being able to piggyback, if you got parent-teacher groups, other student groups, possibly folks that can help get the word out and spread that as well.
Yeah, so Travis touched on a couple of good points there. And some of this may come later on. We don't want to provide too much information up front just because, of course, we want everybody to contribute to the design itself, right? So, if we get to a place where we're starting to develop 3D models, we can start sharing that with people. If there's a school, in fact, that may be similar to what you're looking for, then we can set up tours for that. We've got schools throughout the valley that are convenient, and we have good relationships with the administrators there. They're always happy to welcome groups to tour their schools. And really that's the best way whenever possible, is to get the hands-on feel, to walk into a space and see, this is similar to what we may be getting.
Okay, you'd mentioned something about if we ask the right questions, if we were to do a survey. Do you ever help with the survey or?
Yeah, we do. So I've been working actually with the Shelley School District on their new high school bond. And so their superintendent over there sends out pretty frequently actually surveys just to get feedback from, typically it goes to parents, but anybody can take it. It's just a matter of getting that survey in the right hands. And yeah, he'll come up with some draft questions, and actually as the group, so not just myself, but those various community members that we've talked about, will also provide feedback on what those questions might be.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of tailoring it to, just maybe one quick example would be, the question was, do you want an auditorium included with the high school project? But you can't necessarily just ask, do you want an auditorium? So they then went a step farther and they said, do you want an auditorium that can accommodate 400 students, 600 students, 800? And so they gave some options. And of course, they had one option is no auditorium at all. So questions like that. So they can't be open-ended, right? But we can at least give options on how they're responding.
Social media is a great way also to get feedback.
Oh, yeah.
Now from patrons, people a little
Oh,
more
yeah.
candid.
Sure it is. Sure it is.
And
All sorts of feedback.
your immediate bondings are a little more specific with this new school, but I'm working with Halfway Oregon on their bond, and they've got a lot of options. And they put together a bond committee representation. They've got ranchers, they've got a school teacher. The criteria was you had to own a piece of property in Halfway Oregon. And even a student is on the committee as well, to represent the students. So we've got 20 people, and I've been to 4 meetings up there now to try to establish what their bond, how much they want to run a bond for, and what their needs are. And I think we've got an equal representation from that whole area. And we're getting closer to run a bond for them. Like I said, your need is a little more immediate, so the feedback may not be as specific as it is in Halfway Oregon, but I just want to give you an example of what's out there.
Thank you.
So this question is, can you provide an as-built design specification at the end of the project? And I think some of the gist behind this is that with one of our schools, of course, we had some cool, funky designs that were newer, like air conditioning things, and then it was the coolest, newest thing, and then something cooler and newer came along, and we're like, now we're in a position where we're kind of struggling to sort some things out. So is that something that you have at the end of the project you can turn over so that we can make sure to manage all the details carefully?
Absolutely. And we also spec that some of your mechanical systems, some of your more complicated systems, even the theater light systems are very complicated in the boards. Now, all that has to be videotaped, so you have the ability to go back, because even though we have hands-on training specified and they do that, that teacher or staff is left, or student, they can always use that resource of the video to go back and learn. But again, us, our consultants, Musgrove, once we start a project with you and Benetton, from past experience, we're not done after that 2-year warranty. All you have to do is pick up a phone for a question on any of your buildings from that point forward.
That's good to know.
Does that answer your question? Yep. Okay.
Yeah, I was just making sure that we have that information, and so we don't have to dig through the archives of a burned out building trying to figure out what happened or where.
Sure, and I'll expand on that maybe just a slight. So we actually retain copies of those owners and operations manuals that you'll be supplied with as well. So typically you'll get 2 copies as well as an electronic copy, and then we retain a copy as well. So just the other day, in fact, I got a call on a project that was completed in 2020, and they said, hey, we can't seem to find the O&M manuals. I sent them another copy on a flash drive, and then I looked immediately into what information they were looking for and provided that back. So yeah, certainly we're a resource that will stick around.
Jake, if I could just, and I just want to make sure, and I think you've answered it, and if you have, I apologize, you'll have to repeat. Another piece of this is, as we start the project with a set of designs, and in the middle of that, there's an adjustment that's made that then, if we don't have the design as it was actually built at the end, when we go to try and adjust or make some decision, or there's or adding on or something like that, then we start running into some of those problems. So we'll have a copy of what the designs are as it was actually built at the end of the project.
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, we, in any changes we make, well, there's things down in the field that the contractor can write on a plan, and that's recorded that way, and scanned at the end, and you have an electronic file, plus you have a hard set of documents. Any changes we make along the way where we have to issue a proposal request, that's already on the plans because we issue that document, so that's already built in and will be in the final prints.
So for,
Does that make
so
sense?
for something that happens in the field and that, could you talk just a little bit more about that design? What, the note that's placed on it, is it like a handwritten note? Is it a new set of specs that comes and says, here, this section is, this is what actually was built?
Yes,
Okay.
all of it.
And I asked this question, not because it was something that I was thinking of, but as we had a committee that was reviewing all of the SOQs. And that was something that one of our committee members who had a lot of construction experience highly recommended that we make sure we have that at the end of any project.
So I'll give you 2 examples.
Perfect.
Let's say the kitchen, during design, we specify an oven. And during the bidding process, they find that oven, for whatever reason, it changes manufacturer. Maybe the other one was discontinued, maybe there's a new model. So in the field, when they purchase it, there's an electrical requirement that's different on the plans.
Right.
So in the field and the drawings, they would say, we had to adjust this circuit. They put it in your drawings.
Okay.
And it's on those drawings. Those drawings are given to you at the end of the project. We can also scan those drawings and give you an electronic copy. The other way where it's drawn in the plans is if during construction, you say, we want to add an oven, we make the change on the documents, issue a PR. That's given to the contractor, you move forward, and then it's in the drawings, in your documented drawings at the end of the project. Same way.
Perfect, makes sense. Thank you.
Those are gonna be MEP issues.
Yeah, those are gonna be the issues. He actually has to do the changes on his drawing.
Perfect.
Probably the one that we may not always have control over. You really have to put more on the CM and the GC, but if there's a minor change in the field where they have to reroute, say, a gas line or something, we don't necessarily know what that change is. It just happens in the field, the contractor's directing that. And as long as their sub is marking it on the plans and it gets followed through that way, you'll have that information.
Right. Last thing you want to do is hit something when you think it's not there.
Exactly, and certainly we require it, but, we don't 100% of the time know that that's happening.
And there's gonna be a lot of that, minor changes. We'll get an RFI. The pipe's going over here, and you won't be able to see this pipe, it'll be above a hardwood or something. I ran into a duct or a beam or something. Will it be acceptable to move the pipe over 3 feet, go over here and, drop it there? And the answer's gonna be yes, please note on as-builts. So the minor things like that are at that level. The major things that we need changed, we have to draw. So
Okay.
Mr. Contractor, here's what we thought we were doing, here is what we really now want to do, but that'll be a new drawing. So we take our plans and change.
And what we can also do, which I've done on my last job, is after the building's framed, all the rough-in is in, right before you drywall it, we go in with a 3D camera and document each classroom or each office.
Yeah, that's
So
excellent.
you know what's behind the drywall.
Okay.
How will you address requests from the school district that may not be prudent, practical, or manageable from the perspective of you as the architect?
So this is a good one. We talked about this a lot in the office, and we had a lot of, not different answers, but we had a lot of input to come up with what I think is a good answer for this one. So first of all, we have to understand that any kind of change like this, it's coming from a good place, right? I mean, it's well-intentioned. There's benefit to the project, or at least that's the assumption when it's made. So definitely we're gonna hear it, we're gonna vet it, we're gonna either from past experience, we'll know right away, maybe this isn't the best thing to do, or we'll say, absolutely, we can do that, we've done it before. If it's something that maybe we're a little less familiar with, we'll dig into it with the owner, with the construction manager. Often they'll be the ones that come back and say, it's really not constructible this way, depending on what the request is. As much as possible, we'll make it happen, but it's not our job to tell you what you want to hear. It's to tell you the truth, and it's not always what you want to hear. That'll come up maybe a little bit later here, but just something that we do different than other companies. We always try to be honest. I mean, and to be perfectly honest, we've not gotten jobs when we said that in an interview. But it's not our job, again, to tell you what you want to hear. It won't lead to a successful project at the end.
I guess, and just to have a specific example of how that might happen, and talking to elementary teachers just very informally, they're telling me, well, they would love to have a window that opens in their classroom. And so if we bring that to you guys and you guys would have an opinion on that, and then, well, I should just ask, what would be your opinion on that?
It's a request that we see a lot. Ultimately, it is a district decision, I would say. We can go either way. I mean, we love operable windows. There's a lot of reasons to have them. The most recent reason that we've been seeing actually is as an emergency escape over in Ontario School District. In fact, we're doing a window replacement at their high school, and every room has a window that actually swings out. Students can get out and run if that's what you're doing in a certain situation.
Sure.
But they made a decision.
But it was their decision, exactly. Other districts say we don't want operable windows because they're a liability. Somebody could forget to lock them. Custodian may have to go around the school every single night and make sure that they're locked. So it's really weighing your priorities, and it could change. I mean, we've seen how many times now, shelter in place, no, get out of the school and run, no shelter in place. I mean, it could change next year. So it's hard to always make the right decision,
But if it was a specific design, like you want, and the windows, it wouldn't be this, but I want this beam, here or not here. You've got a beam here and I don't want this beam here. And you're like, well, we have to have a beam there. If you want this, there's going to have to be a beam. I'm assuming those are the kind of things you're just going to say, you have to have that unless you want to change this, and this.
That's what it would come down to. Yeah, we would say our engineers can make it work. However, it's going to add cost. We'll work with CM to identify what that cost would be. You can always cantilever beams and get rid of them. You can upsize members somewhere else. So yeah, you can get rid of the beam. You can get rid of the column, but it's not the most efficient way sometimes. So again, it's priority. Are you valuing aesthetics over affordability, or the other way around, or what's the balance?
But you would give us the information so we could make an
For sure. Yeah.
informed decision.
Yeah. Yeah. It's never our job to say, don't do that. You can't afford it. Do this.
That'd be nice.
It's money.
Just gonna throw that right out there.
Sorry, our architects told us no.
It's not our job to tell you what your values and priorities are.
Okay, my best example on that is wireless journals. They were a fad a few years ago, jumped on it. Again, it's learn from lessons learned. We had probably a lot of experience in these MEP systems. Yeah, so bad idea.
Is there anything your company does that other companies do not, and what sets you apart?
Okay, well, I guess we could start with what we do different than probably a lot of the firms that apply for this job. Starting out, our vast educational experience, I think we're the one of probably two firms in the Valley that can say that 90% plus of our work is educational in nature, so K-12 primarily, a little bit of higher ed as well. So certainly I would say we have a leg up on other companies in that regard. I would say that a lot of our work is actually in communities that are a little more rural, more like Middleton. So certainly we work in Boise School District, West Ada School District, and we are in Meridian, so it's amazing that we can work there as well. But most of what we do is actually in smaller communities. And we're talking, like we mentioned Mountain Home, Gooding School District, Valley View, Nampa, maybe on the fence with that, but Caldwell, Lewis, et cetera. Most of our projects are in communities such as that. So we travel. I spend a lot of my time traveling pretty far sometimes. 200-300 miles in a day is nothing. So those are a couple things that we do different. I do have to recognize, of course, that I'm aware that you're interviewing another firm that does a lot of schools. They're qualified as well. I'm not gonna say they're not. So it may be a little more difficult to say, what do we do different than them? Jeff actually has a great answer against all of those firms, actually.
Yeah, I think on the construction administration side, for us, until Bill retired recently, he too, as well as myself, we come from a construction background. So during the construction administration phase, we're more hands-on with and work side by side with the contractor. I think we do that more than any firm here in the valley. A lot of firms just show up to the monthly owner-architect contractor meeting and handle everything else remotely through paperwork and email. I'm one that wants to be on site every week. I want to get to know the superintendents. I want to get to know the foreman of each subcontractor. So when they see me on site, they can ask me a question. It speeds the process along. The contractors that are bidding the job know that, well, when they see Design West logo on their sets of drawings, they know they're going to have representation there that they can talk to. I think we do that better than, I'll say, LKB, because they're our competition on this.
Yeah, so that's a great point. And so we've had past architects, we have current principals that have been project superintendents for construction companies. So they've really shared the importance of that, the other side, I guess, of the thing. So, they know what it's like trying to work with an architect that maybe is not on the site as much. And so they've shared the importance of us being on site. It's almost annoying when Jeff is on a site because he is talking to all the contractors and like, hey, we're supposed to be going to look at this really quick, and people are grabbing him and talking to him. And it's always about the project. But and I say that joking. It's amazing that Jeff is able to talk to contractors like that.
And I also think we know your building in your district, your buildings, facilities, more than our competition.
That's a good point, just based on the history that we've shown you and the facilities analysis that we've done within the last, I think, 3 years.
Describe your process for budget estimating in preparation for a bond.
Okay. Want to start this one, Jeff?
And for budget and estimating, so, yeah, we've pretty much got we've got very accurate square foot numbers and current budget numbers just based on the amount of schoolwork we do. Tomorrow we're Benetton and us are bidding a school that's like the one we previously designed for you. So we're already going to have numbers on that building tomorrow. So and a multitude of different projects that we're always running on, whether it's a roof or improvements, we've always got accurate numbers and up-to-date numbers. And we work closely with the CM or the CMGC on your building, on the site analysis, whether or not we have to bring in utilities to the site or they're already there. We've always got current numbers on those as well. We've got great consultants we work with, the Land Group, Civil, Landscape, Bill Carter, Musgrove. They do schoolwork for a lot of the districts in the valley. So they have MEP numbers that are current and accurate as well.
I just had a quick follow-up question as far as when you're preparing a budget and how you actually label the cost of the school. That kind of came up in the last 2 interviews with the construction company. And one company just gave us the price per square foot for the entire project. And the other company, they could only give us the price on the building, but didn't really give us a price on what everything
Soft
costs.
costs.
Yeah. And so it's like, I know it seems like that's harder to deal with. And you have an opinion on that and how you would
20%,
above that price.
the building. Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
that's what we're finding.
So if we're starting out early on, we'll look at a cost for the building per square foot. But then we also have to consider the site, and of course, the site varies, so, maybe the contractors are a little reluctant to give a cost per square foot for a building when they don't know what the site entails. But
Yeah, no, I'm, new to this process, and I'm wondering if part of your job then is really to come up with a hard number of what the whole thing's gonna cost then.
it is, yeah, I mean, the budget has to cover everything, right? So we're making sure that we include the site development costs, we're making sure that we include the soft costs that Jeff just mentioned, so permitting, plan review, utility connections, A&E fees, contingencies, you always have to have that built in. And we really are coming up, and we could present it as, your building is this much per square foot, your site development cost comes out to this much per acre or per square foot, either way. And then once we add in soft cost, then this is your total project cost translated to square feet.
That's good, so you have different ways of looking at that cost, because
We do.
yeah, because, some people are fixated on a total cost per square foot because, they go to buy and sell a house. That's the one number. So some people want to see that number, and it's good that you can illustrate that cost in different perspectives. Like,
Yeah, then there's the initial land cost as well. That could be a component of that.
right?
And so that's something that we'll include based on, if you already own the land and that doesn't need to be included in the budget, then we can exclude that, or we can include it.
Can I ask one more question? When in terms of those soft costs, how do you approach, and this is just something I don't know, and it might be just an industry standard, and how do you approach it when you have a pre-existing school design that, modifications will be made to fit the site and needs of the district, but you've got that pre-existing school design as compared to a full-on new design that, or a major adjustment to a pre-existing design. How do you approach the cost if you're looking at those kind of things?
So of course, we want to approach that fairly. So if we're talking a new design, the fee, of course, is whatever is negotiated, it's going to be higher. If we're looking at opportunity to reuse a past project, whether it's with or without modifications, then right off the top, that fee is reduced. The site portion of that, no site is going to be the same, so it's hard to reduce that fee very much for the site components of it. But for the building itself, so structural, architectural, MEP systems, that would end up being reduced. And then really just negotiate it out if you're looking at modifications to that prototype or not. And of course, the more changes you make, the fee climbs a little bit, but.
What are fees based off of, like, sorry,
Sure.
like an average, if we said, we love this design, we want to go with it, or, hey, can you just like grind on this thing and start from the ground up? What are the variables within that? Is it just time-based, or can you even give like just an example of two
It's,
side by side?
it's based on effort that goes into it, certainly. So, and the other part I didn't really speak to, but so the construction administration part of the project, so overseeing construction, reviewing submittals, et cetera, that part is really not anything that on our end we're saving effort on. Not redesigning something is certainly saving quite a bit, but we're still gonna have the same effort into overseeing that construction, which is typically 20% of the overall fee that you'll see.
So that's regardless of what we do with the design, what design we use or using a pre-existing plan, that 20%.
Yes, so
Okay.
that'll be the same typically, regardless of whether it's a reuse or not. But there will be a reduction on the design side of things.
Sorry, I
And
just want to make sure I understood that. What does the 20% reflect again?
so the 20%, maybe the best way to look at it is if we've got an entire fee for a project, we'll have roughly 80% of that fee will be towards, sorry, let me back up. So 75% of the fee will be for design, and this is just typical, it's not always. 5% of that fee will end up being for bid assistance, so helping bidding process. And then the last 20% will be construction oversight, basically, and closeout of the project. So that's our time going to the site, weekly for site visits, attending meetings, reviewing submittals, et cetera.
Thank you for that.
So we try to break it out just so we know what effort is required for a project. Really to answer your question, about what the difference in fee would be. It can vary quite a bit, but I mean, typically you're gonna save, I would say at least 2% on the design fee if you've got a reuse scenario. Again, it would be more, except for the fact that the site is typically always custom. So there's not a lot of savings there,
No.
unfortunately.
Describe how you've worked together with school districts to share information and promote a bond.
Okay, I'll start on that one. I think we've touched on a few of these items already, actually. So we've talked about community meetings that are led by either the bond group or the superintendent, or a combination of both, and just attendance at that. Social media to a point, you know, I think we have to be a little careful with that one because you've seen how the information can spread. Bad information spreads way faster than accurate information. Beyond that, you know, surveys we've talked about just open meeting, maybe a little more intimate meetings where people can attend, get a little bit of information, take it with them, think on it. Those surveys that we talked about. I check my notes to make sure I don't miss anything here. So, yeah, I mean, I think those are the main things. I think Travis may have some additional input.
Well, and again, as Brandon mentioned, you know, with the meetings or tours, again, you know, and just creating all the promotional material, whether you have a link on your website or you know, blurb or something, you know, other than other social media platforms as well. And yeah, just being able to distribute the information, you know, sharing with the district as well as, you know, all the patrons and everyone. And just making sure we have, you know, current information and whether we're providing concept drawings or, you know, we're a bit further in the process as well.
I think the important thing to mention, I've been trying to use the word information and not necessarily promotion, because of course, as you know, we have to be careful about what we share. You know, we're never promoting a bond per se, but we are sharing factual information.
Right.
Please describe your familiarity and experience working with Canyon County Services. We talk about, you know, like building department, water.
Sure. Travis has some recent experience that he can share, and then I've got a whole list of things that we actually got from our site designer. So I'm going to reference that a lot just because I don't want to miss anything. He has some great insight.
Yeah, I've been working recently on that Purple Sage tenant improvement for the resource classrooms there. And so that was actually through Canyon County. They had a little bit of delays on their side, but they were great to work with. Just call them up and say, hey, you know, email or call and say, look, we've got a hold up here. And they were pretty quick and responsive to get through that. But, you know, each jurisdiction or, you know, city or county agency, they've all got their unique processes, but we've been able to, you know, we understand how to work through them successfully, navigate their departments and their applications or the different systems that were required to, for all the approvals for different parts of the projects. And, you know, a big key is just getting engaged with the staff early on in the project and make sure we're, you know, covering all of our bases there.
Right. So we're talking about Canyon County specifically, but others worth mentioning. So I think the assumption is that when you're looking at utilities at the site, we're probably talking about Middleton, you know, city services, so sewer and water would be serving that, unless for some reason it ends up under Caldwell Services. I understand that there's a site that you've looked at. In fact, we actually designed a school for it already, and then potential other sites may come about. So really it's a matter of looking at what the site is and how that will be served. But it looks like everything that likely you would be building on is within the city of Middleton impact area and those services. So certainly that's something to keep in mind. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far here, but, you know, we'd be looking at Southwest District Health for those approvals. That's of course not Canyon County, working with the city of Middleton, and even working with the state. So the Division of Occupational and Professional Licenses, that will be the state agency that reviews the building plans itself, as well as potentially issuing the permit for the building, depending on what services the city of Middleton can provide for review. So experience with all of that is vast for sure. I mean, those are agencies that we work with almost daily, trying to get plans reviewed and approved. I probably branched a little farther out than just Buchanan County, but I figured I'd try to cover all the bases.
Yeah, perfect.
Please share what you look for when comparing potential sites for building.
Yeah, so a lot of things here, and actually, what I said a second ago, so this is the great information that I got from the land group. So we work with the land group on pretty much every school project that we do. They're the most prolific educational designer as far as sites in the valley. We find that they're well worth it. So to that end, there are a few things that we'll look at. So physical character of the site. So size and shape of the site. Of course, we want it to be adequate for an elementary school. 10 acres is ideal. Could be a little more, a little less. Just depends on how much of that site we can actually use. Within that, we'll look at the soils on the site, topography. Those things both have impact on what the actual cost would be. If we're having to export a certain amount of soil because it's unsuitable, that's going to add cost, of course. If there's a lot of grading that's involved in the site, then again, that's going to add cost. So, if we're finding a site that's fairly flat, that's certainly ideal. We can work with anything. Beyond that, so location, is it convenient for the school district to build on that either currently, or is that where growth is headed and it's a good site for that reason? What kind of access is there to the site as far as maybe pedestrian walkways, et cetera, from adjacent neighborhoods? We'll look at things like services, so power, water, gas, and sewer. Is that on the site? Is it right next door in an established subdivision, et cetera? Or is it out in a field where you're bringing services? We brought services a mile and more before, actually.
Yeah.
So maybe something to keep in mind on that point is that cheap land does not necessarily mean cheap development. You can pay for it one way or the other, pretty much. Certainly dealt with that. And then just kind of beyond that, so we'd be looking at, are there parts of the site that are not developable at all? So it could be because there's just some super steep grades on that site. It could be because we have some easements that pass through that site for electrical, for example, that really restricts what you can actually develop on that site. Are there existing canals across the site that we have to deal with? Maybe we can reroute them, but there's going to be cost.
International pipelines.
That's a great one. As an example, for the new Owyhee school, when we designed that years ago, the district was able to buy an old dairy and farm. Got a great price on the land, but they had to go through an entire annexation process that took so long, in fact, that it delayed the project by a year. We had to reroute some canals. We had to bring services to the site. We had to do traffic impact studies, develop intersections nearby. In the end, it added so much cost that I'm not sure that they were ahead on the purchase price.
They were ahead,
They were, okay.
but it was,
Jeff says they were.
they were.
But it caused a lot of gray hair for a lot of
It
people. Sure, I'd say that much.
That's all Owyhee.
Yeah,
I wanna-
it was, it cost a lot of time.
I heard you were 32 this year, right?
It was a struggle. They called the canals wetlands. I mean,
Oh my.
Oh, it was, yeah, I didn't want to get into that.
Yeah.
But
anyways, there's a lot to go on a site. But we have, as Brandon said, the land group, a great resource. We love working with school districts early on before they actually make that purchase to make sure that is the ideal site for their new build.
Sure. By the way, most of my gray is from my kids. Some of it's from the job. Just the last thing I would touch on just has to do with transportation. So when we're looking at a site, it's nice when we can have two adjacent roadways to that site, but as long as we have one, we're covered on that. But also just looking at how are people getting to the site, what is the traffic flow to that site? We don't want to overwhelm a neighborhood, for example, or once we get into the traffic impact study component of that, if we're trying to send a ton of buses and parents through a neighborhood, it's not going to fly and maybe it's not developable at all. And then just what is currently, and I touched on this a little bit, I guess, already, but what is next to the schooling? Is it really suited for a school? Or is it more a commercial or industrial piece of property that really has no buildings next to it?
What do you see as strong cost-saving design opportunities in the school design process?
Okay, this one's a great question. They're all great questions, but. So I think that I'll start with Bill on this because the MEP portion of it, sorry, I keep saying MEP, hopefully everybody understands that that is mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. The mechanical components of that especially can add up in cost, so let's talk about that first.
My answer is keep things simple. Keep things simple. There's nothing more economical, I'll use the word cheap, 5-ton package rooftop unit. There's nothing more cost savings than that system. Normally classrooms are 4 tons, but the idea is a package rooftop unit is a very economical way. Number one concern on the mechanical system is ventilation. You've got lots of people in there, they need fresh air. So rooftop units have a little damper right there, they bring in fresh air. It's a pretty simple system. So keep things simple.
What can I ask, what do you see as a complicated version that would be a thing, avoid these kind of things?
VRF right now is talking about more than anything, variable refrigerant flow. It's that new, it's very high efficient refrigerant system, very efficient. It's all electric. It's got that green feel to it. It's not a gas pack. But the downside is you're trying to heat with 0 degree air, maybe -5 degree air, hard to do. So now you have supplemental electric heat strips that kick in. So yes, it's a good system, maybe not right for when we need to bring in so much fresh air, and that fresh air is -5 degrees, probably not a good choice for a school. Maybe a better choice for an office building where you have, in this room, you'd have 6 people in their desks, but in a classroom, there's 30. So just a different type of system. I also like it, it's very unitary. It will break. It's gonna break guaranteed, but you lose that one classroom. If you have a central plant system, a boiler, chiller, or a giant heat pump system, you break, you've lost your school. It's also good in many other ways. Maintenance people like it because they just go to one spot, fix the boiler. So maintenance people, I see some advantages with it, but you lose your entire facility. That's why you put in 2 or 3 boilers. Now you've got backup, costly, but the military can afford it. So the military goes that way, boilers, chillers, central plant. Probably a bad choice for a school, unitary, it breaks, it's fixed a week later, and you've lost one room for a while. So probably a better choice, simple systems. DDC control, that's one, it's low hanging fruit, direct digital control. So a computer runs your entire system, the heating, cooling, ventilation system. It knows CO2 levels, so make sure everyone's got good breathing air. It's your maintenance crew's best friend, a control system. At a glance, he can see what's working, what's not working, what's in trouble, but cost savings. It doesn't need to be so sophisticated. Right now you have Allerton. Your school district's on Allerton. It's a good system. We have to be careful not to go overboard. And you can spend too much money on a control system. Use it for what it's needed to be used for, but don't go crazy on bells and bells that you can't do. So keep your controls in there. Plumbing systems, let's go to plumbing. I'm going to put cost savings, but you also have to be careful about maintenance. So in a bathroom, your custodial staff loves wall hung furniture, wall hung fixtures. They can mop, it's quick and easy. But those kids are kids, they jump on things, they break them off the wall. There's maintenance with wall hung water closets. So floor mount, but now you're going to have to weigh cost for repairs versus ease of maintenance and custodial. So be smart on what your choices are. Some things are good choices, some are not. PEX piping, good choice for some facilities, bad choice for others. Everybody in your maintenance crew, they've got copper, they've got a soldering gun, they can sweat in fittings. They're used to sweating in copper fittings, they know how to do it. PEX is coming, it's already hit us and everything, but if you don't have all the right tools and all your maintenance guys don't have those couplings in their trucks, you're giving them a disservice by going to plastic pipe because now they don't have all the means to repair it. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but we need to look at that. But it is more cost effective to do plastic. So we'll put in plastic where the maintenance crews are equipped to deal with it. So things like that, just be smart on what you're being cost conscious on for big picture stuff, long term. You're here for long term. Don't hurt yourself saving $10 here when it's gonna cost you so much in the future. So just be smart, but keep it simple systems.
As for the building, I would piggyback on what Bill said, so keep it simple. We're not here to design Taj Mahal. We're designing a place to educate children. Obviously, we want it to be suitable for that, good daylight, fresh air, good acoustics. But beyond that, we're spending more money than we need to for, like I said, a Taj Mahal building. Double loading corridors for classrooms, keeping the finishes as simple but yet durable as possible. We're looking at low maintenance. Some of this is going to translate into the next question, I realize, but.
Which is fine. You can roll right into it if you want, because it really is tied together with the need for our various cost options. And so just with the potential ramifications of each choice, if you can offer those things so we can optimally balance the potential for bond passage with the responsibility to build a school that lasts as long as possible. How would you assist the district with this need? And really where that stems from is looking at our options. There is a balance, right? I mean, we can build something that lasts a really long time and costs a lot more, and we also have to be cost conscious. And so do we need that? And just where does this lie?
Right. Well, and you said it, it's finding the right balance. If you're looking at long-term savings, you're going to be paying more upfront. That's just the reality of it. And that goes into so many different finishes within a building. Something like a VCT flooring that everybody's used to in a school, at least 20 years ago, everybody was doing it. It's certainly low cost up front, but you're waxing it every year, you're cleaning it pretty frequently.
And that just, so the VCT is a tile.
Final, yeah.
It is, yeah. So it's the tile that you're used to seeing in every school.
It's everywhere.
Built in
Black
the
and white
80s and
tile.
90s. It's a 12 by 12, solid color, it's got those flecks in it.
Yeah.
So you don't see a lot of it anymore, actually, just because it is going by the wayside. It's a pretty high maintenance. All the rage now seems to be polished concrete. A little more upfront cost, but maintenance is almost nothing. You're taking a floor scrubber over it once in a while just to keep it clean. There's other options we can look at as well. So like a luxury vinyl tile, it's probably the replacement for a VCT, but you're not waxing it every year. You're just cleaning it with a floor scrubber again. So that'd be one example on flooring cost savings. Are you paying more upfront but saving money down the road? Certainly. We also look at how long is it going to last. Polished concrete's going to last forever. You're probably never going to have to do anything with it. Any other flooring, eventually you will have to replace it. Looking at roofing, and Jeff would be a great one to talk about this, but I could just mention, are you considering a standing seam metal roof, which has a great warranty on it? Are you looking at a long life asphalt shingle roof? Are you looking at a single ply membrane roof? They all come at different price points. They'll last a different amount of time. Maintenance, pretty similar on all of them. Beyond that, there's a ton of finishes we could truly go through. We're looking at handrails. Do you do stainless steel handrails that you never have to maintain or paint? Or you do hollow metal type handrails that you're painting every couple of years? There's always going to be that trade-off.
CMU veneer versus a frame wall with stucco, right? CMU, we get colored CMU, you never have to paint it, never have to do anything but seal it every 5 years or so.
And that's really where I'm wanting to, we have this responsibility, right? We already know we struggle with bond passage. We have a need. We have this school that we need. And so we just want to make sure that as a board, we're as responsible with that tax money, with that bond money, that as we can possibly be, and make an educated decision. So, you look and, there's tilt up walls, right? Precast and things like that, metal buildings, what's going to give us our best bang for the buck? And if that means in 50 years, that's all it's gonna last versus 100 years, maybe that's the route we go. But like we have to weigh those decisions and we need help weighing them, right? I mean, that's really where we're headed with this, because we don't have an open bank account and we have needs, but we also, we know that if we run to Home Depot and get the $1.50 a square foot flooring, that's gonna last a week and a half.
Yeah.
right?
Right, yeah, and certainly we understand that, you have capacity issues right now that you're trying to address. You also have the issue of the cost and what will patrons support. You don't want to ask them to support something that they honestly can't afford. And so what is that balance? And we'll look at life cycle costs on all of those items, as relevant, with the CM, with manufacturers, industry reps. We meet with them probably every week or two. Somebody's coming in trying to sell us something and share their information on why their product is better. So we have a plethora of information in that regard.
One question you might get, energy savings and efficiencies of all these air conditioning units, that's always brought up. You don't have summer school. Maybe you do a little bit, but you don't fully load that building during the summer months when you could utilize and you would realize the savings of high efficient air conditioning units. So when we design this, we're doing code minimum air conditioning units. And that has come back on like the Boise School District. Why aren't we doing the nice high efficient that's out there? And then there's an Idaho Power rebate. It doesn't pay for all of it. It only pays for a third of it. You're still paying more and you're not realizing the savings of air conditioning because you're not in school June, July, August. I mean, when you could use it. So things like that, you'll get questions. Why are you not high efficient? Just your operations, you don't have cooling then. So you have to have the right answers on, that was a simple question. There are a good answer, why not?
Yeah.
And it's cost savings, it would be wasted money.
A couple other things, look at opportunities for an alternate. Perhaps you don't need all of the classrooms right now and you leave space for expansion to add a couple classrooms on a wing or something. Or you can go with a more basic playground set. And then other groups, PTO or some other groups, they can do some fundraising to expand that later. There's some other ideas there.
I had sticks and rocks as a kid. They don't need no.
Who did not?
But things like, your doors, your door hardware,
Yeah,
that's, we spec, I won't say the absolute best, but we last stuff that's gonna last 30 years. Your doors, your door hardware, your plumbing fixtures. It's the shell of the building, you want the thermoplastic roof or metal roof. Metal roofs are overrated.
kids using it.
Shingle roofs, they have lifetime warranties on them now.
Mhm.
The thermoplastic roofs, they have 30-year warranties on them now.
I think the important thing is, we want to be able to not just say, hey, this was the cheapest option necessarily, but this was the best value.
Yeah,
This made the most sense. Because, some things, like we really can, but we also want to make sure that the core of what we're doing is giving them a safe place, that it's a responsible, spend of the money and that it's going to last for a while. It serves a quality purpose. So.
Then ultimately, of course, you need to justify the decisions that you made, and you don't want somebody 20 years cursing all of you for the decisions that were made.
But that doesn't matter. We're out of here.
The roof will fail,
We still have one building we use the community's using that's 90 years old.
yeah.
This whole community center right
We
here.
rarely see
I saw that,
schools not use
funny.
their built, I mean,
yeah.
they're even built,
They have to.
50 years, you say,
Mhm.
but I don't know building after 50 years that they tear down.
Right.
Even after 100 years. it's
Right.
tear
Still
down.
limp them along.
Oh, they do, because Washington School in Caldwell's over 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the final thought, since the question came up, is, as you're aware, we actually did work with previous boards and previous administrators to come up with a design for a school based on needs, at least at the time. I went through the entire educational specification process. You want to talk about savings, and we talked a little bit about reuse. Certainly, that's one way to go, is looking at that plan and what can be modified to make it a little bit less expensive. Are you changing the roof? Are you changing the wall systems? Are you changing mechanical systems? Although Bill tells us that what we have on there now is the most efficient, and that would be the way to go. But yeah, we're happy to look at that and find some savings there.
Yeah.
Beyond that school site, I really don't know, and I don't expect an answer, but, I understand that you do have a site currently looking at other sites. That site's been designed already, it's been approved. So some savings there, if in fact you pass the bond and you're ready to go right out of the gate, saving a year on design is gonna save a lot on the construction side. I'm sure the CM's told you that part of it. We don't know what cost is gonna do in the next year, but it's been going up 4 to 8% every year for the last few. If it's gonna go down, I doubt it. So
No, I'm not here.
considerations,
Yeah.
for sure.
Is it a June bond that you're potentially running?
We're not there yet.
Yeah,
It would be May, August, or November.
Yeah, May, August, November, but May is really a really tight timeline to get everything in by March
And
for the
August.
county.
Yep.
And then August, they'll probably take away from us, so November might be our first one that we could actually do. And
You probably don't wanna run during a general election.
How we have
we
no
may not have a choice.
No choice.
Presidential election.
And then we're also waiting to see what happens with some of the facilities bills that are currently in the works in the legislature. And so we want to be able to leverage, if something passes, we want to be able to leverage that, but we might not have time to leverage it if we are trying to get towards that May date. And my understanding is that some of those facilities bills are trying to take away the August date, so that's like a tag on. It's there, get you to vote for this by getting rid of that August date.
Right, it's, in the line of business that we do, we're very familiar with all that, unfortunately.
Yeah,
We know that March was the date that, 85% of bonds passed in March.
Yep.
Of the ones that did pass, I should say.
That's why it's gone.
that's why it's going, yeah, exactly,
And the next best date is August, which we know is why that was.
correct. Yep, we'll see how that goes, but yeah, so that's what we're working.
Challenges.
Yep.
And no one in legislature is supporting eliminating the supermajority.
I've heard
Oh,
of
there
one
was-
bill,
there-
I've heard of
yes.
one bill that is
Somebody's trying.
suggesting that if we run it on a general election in November, that they'll go down to 60.
Okay.
I'd take it.
Yes.
That would-
Yeah.
They do it.
That would help.
That's a huge difference.
I don't know if that has any traction, but I know that that's one bill that's being passed out
That
there.
was, coming out of Idaho Falls, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I think, is based on what was happening in the Salmon School District,
Correct.
which is where my wife is from, so I'm very
Okay.
familiar with their plight.
Oh, well, and we think we have a bad salmon, has it 20 times?
Yes, they do. They really do.
13 tries now.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, gosh. Didn't know that.
Yeah,
We're good.
that's it.
Thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Oh, and just as a follow-up, we'll have one more interview and then we'll do a little discussion here, but we'll be doing the formal discussion and decision on Monday during our regular board meeting.
Yes.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Good to see you again. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Jeff.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Good presentation. Thank you.
Besides that, Hannigan, what color do you take?
Like we were prepared.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I do appreciate the Q&A, kind of open forum.
And having no questions ahead of time.
Such a
That-
cool-
that would be very helpful.
Yeah.
This is a killer.
Yeah,
They got over there really quick.
yeah.
Jake and I-
Oh, they will. Yeah, they do a lot of work.
They're good questions.
That big, trying to get two different parts.
It's like where my sister-
He was calling everybody.
Yeah.
So it's probably calling. Oh, they are.
Honestly,
Well, that was.
Something, I
That was
think
great.
because you have a door, you have a door that goes outside, you have a door.
It should be from, yeah.
It's interesting when you're like, where do we hide everybody? It's got close blinds, you have windows, the lighting is nice. I think by the time.
I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, Mark. That thing is close back there, 'cause I'm by you, but I'm like,
Yeah.
Blair.
I'll do it now.
That makes sense for them. Yeah, and I very, both of my kids went to Mount Home High School, so I'm very familiar with that. Yeah, thank you guys very much. These are my. They don't fit?
Supposed to be on the diet.
Don't you take a picture of that and send that to your wife?
Every time I get, so I get like a stipend every time I go, so it's like $100 a day. I gotta try really hard to spend, so I go to the grocery store, I find like all the best, dark chocolate candy bars. It's like, how'd you get like 8 more to one of them? Sitting in a hotel room alone, staring at like a computer all night.
Oh, that'd be brutal.
How do you eat chocolate?
Monday's board meeting.
That would be very brutal.
Yeah, it'll be,
It would be like my husband
the
just
website.
went for a walk on
There.
there.
Yeah,
It really
and get on there, let me know,
depends.
text me and I'll get you.
All right, thank you.
They're all gone.
Here's Jake.
I know,
And that.
There's the
but it
evidence.
was kind of me too.
I get the big bags of chocolate chips from Costco.
Oh, which color, blue or?
Are you having
red?
to take off that?
I have to buy the blue, because my God, there's something, not as much dairy in them.
Oh, that's
Oh.
dark chocolate. I don't like
So I
that.
get either the
They
really
are
big
good.
chocolate
My kids
chips
love
that are
their
like,
pancakes
almost looks
every
like
day.
mini Hershey Kisses.
If there's no chocolate chips in
Or
there,
they have
they're
like-
like, Mom.
Legit chocolate like chips. not-
at?
Just like the Ghirardelli ones,
Oh.
where else they, like Trader Joe's has dark
Costco's are
chocolate, like
good.
their chips, like their
Costco has good
square
chocolate.
little chunks.
Do they have milk chocolate?
I don't know, I don't eat that junk, I don't eat dark chocolate.
What is the difference? Do you think?
Oh, I can't hardly eat milk chocolate anymore.
Yeah, I like the dark.
Way
chocolate
would
is-
rather have dark chocolate.
Cause it's real cocoa.
Well, it's less sweet too, it's like it's really.
I don't like the
Oh, then
sweet.
that tells you why I like it.
The dark chocolate is better. I mean, it's got more of the.
I know, it's
jalapenos
got
and
the.
Stuff. Like, I like to eat.
Anybody need another water?
Yeah,
Have one more.
great.
I need sleep. I'm just kidding.
Okay, they are here. Are we ready to?
Yeah, just great.
Yeah, yes, let's go.
Okay, I'm gonna give them a little bit of
Here's your
time just to
pound.
make sure they can roll. through.
Yeah, if it's my turn.
We did have somebody watching from Brazil, so that's good. Making sure it worked.
Oh, you did?
Yeah,
Was she?
yeah, she was watching it,
Cool.
practicing her English that way. Yeah.
We'll have you
I will.
see it up here in the back. We've got this clicker here, but the PDF, I don't know if that's gonna work as well.
I got this thing that I'm supposed to be on, and I'm gonna show up to my house.
So I don't know how, I can sit over here while you roll through if we need to. I can scroll through the, well, I mean, during your presentation, because it won't go from one PDF to another, I don't believe.
Are we,
He does.
well, we're still on.
Double check.
Yeah, we are. It's
Yeah,
okay.
so they heard us commenting all about.
Yeah.
dark chocolate.
Yeah.
Like you can go,
We like their.
yeah, like you go
3 people watching right now.
and there, like you
Oh,
can
that's
aim
okay,
it
that's good.
Okay.
at,
What we need.
because it becomes the cursor, if that's how you want to do it.
do that.
If not, if it gets cumbersome, just let me know and I'll come over.
And when I say we, I mean one of those.
So,
I'm right there with you, sir.
Yeah, I just so used to moving around and walking.
yes.
Yesterday was.
Yeah, well, if you want to take that, so.
St. Louis was tough, I had to fly up to
Yeah,
Minneapolis
this
and
is
over.
the
It would be
left mouse
fine, but
button, this
for
is
some
right.
reason, yesterday was, I
So.
was really
Just
restless.
left mouse button,
Yeah.
left mouse button.
It was tough.
Clicking.
Plus, there was no movie screens or anything. I
Yeah.
just listened to podcasts.
But if you want to roll through to make sure that like that, the slide you need.
Oh, 16 hours at least. That's
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, so you'd have to take some strong medication.
When I used to fly to Taiwan and China,
Yeah.
I was like, no, we gotta spend extra $500 for either business or first class. There's no way. Right? Peasant class is rough, like chickens and goats and it's rough.
Well, my knees are just slammed against the seat in front of me.
Oh,
Those,
yeah.
those long flights over the Pacific are really, really long.
And the seats are closer together on those flights because of the, Asians, and it's painful.
And Lisa will join us in 15, 20 minutes, so we're good to go whenever.
Oh, sorry.
I'll trade it.
I'm stealing this from you.
Is it my turn? Or you want to read the questions this time? Okay.
You wanna do it?
I'm fine, yeah. Whatever.
I'll let you. It's on your paper, because you're not using it.
We did include them in there. so.
Okay.
That is fantastic.
Oh, that's amusing.
Well, I will start. I'm Pam Wagner. I'm the chair, and I will let the others introduce themselves.
Jake Dempsey, co-chair.
Cindy Powell.
And Jay Clark.
And then Marky. Superintendent, we'll have Lisa Pennington, Assistant Superintendent, will step in here in a few minutes. Derek Moore is out right now, but we're recording so he can review, because we'll be making the decision on Monday, and it gives him some time to take a look at the presentation, so.
The floor is yours.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. I'm Amber Van Oker, LKB Architects. This is Brooke Thornton, one of my partners, and Toby Norskog, one of my other partners. Our fourth partner, he's back at the ranch, keeping everything rolling, so, but we really appreciate, we know you guys have probably had a long day, and you've probably been doing this, all morning into the afternoon, so we appreciate the opportunity to be here and speak with you.
If you'd like, I could actually do it from here, and then I can just sit here and poke you through.
In presentation mode, it's just not in slide mode.
Be on the next one.
Yeah, you just need to.
No, just click on the side. Click on the side. And the next one.
It's just getting the.
So what we were gonna do is just kind of run through a little bit of history of the firm, and then we have included all of the questions that you guys sent us in advance, and so we do have them on slides. However you wanted to handle, doing that.
It's probably okay then to just have them roll through, and then as we have follow-ups.
No, that'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Please.
And
Thank
we,
you.
we really do want this to be kind of an interactive, and if we get going and you have a question, please stop us and we can have a good discussion. So, we're educational facility designers. This is what we do. The firm is 48 years old now, a little bit longer. I've been with the firm since '93, right out of college. So my entire career has been focused on educational facility design. It's our passion. Like, I come from two educators in the Boise School District. My parents are retired school teachers. I was raised in that world of education. And so when I started into the firm, the idea of being able to design schools was certainly a passion for me. And education and just being able to take what we do as architects and put it into your realm as educators and leaders of educators is a pretty powerful thing for us, and it is special. We don't do a lot of other work outside of our educational realm. I mean, we do a little bit of commercial work, but primarily LKB Architects, we design schools. So we've got 45 new elementary schools under our belts right now. We work for 21 different school districts in the state of Idaho, 4 in Oregon, more in that Eastern Oregon area. We really do have a strong reputation as being facility designers. And our recent elementary projects, we've been very fortunate. Over the last 6 years, we've built 6 different elementary schools for the Boise School District. We just got done wrapping up Longfellow Elementary. If you're familiar with Boise, it's a 110-year-old facility. We did a complete renovation in addition to it. And we're right now in the middle of construction on Collister, which is a similar scenario where it's 111 years old, I think Collister is. 1912. Yeah, and same deal, we're renovating that old original building and then also adding on to it. So all of those schools for the Boise School District have been very unique based upon the site, the conditions, the curriculum that they're wanting to do. So it wasn't a kind of a cookie cutter approach on those. Just to kind of go through our team, I think one of the things, and we'll kind of touch on this in some of your questions, what sets our firm apart probably from other firms is that you get 100% leadership. You have owners of the company sitting in front of you, and you will see us throughout the entire project. Obviously, we have a support staff that helps us, but we don't do a handoff to, junior staff members. That's not what we do. We see a project from the design all the way through construction and into those first handful of years. And then obviously we're here, throughout the course of that building's life. And we're pretty passionate about that. We want it to be a successful project even when we're long gone. So I will be the partner in charge. You would communicate with me from start to finish. I will be the lead. Brooke Thornton will be serving a really solid role from a programming perspective and that early design work. And then Toby will be doing a lot of the construction documents and the technical side of putting that together and communicating with the construction manager that you ultimately select. But we will all definitely be involved. And Greg Bush, who's one of our project managers, been with us for years and years and years. He's got 35 years of experience putting together sets of construction documents and working with contractors. He'll also be involved. In our proposal, we did list some of the engineering consultants that we like to work with, but that's entirely up to you folks. If we're successful and we are selected, we would certainly go through that list. And if you have other folks you want us to talk to, we're certainly open to that. Yeah.
So like Amber said, we're educational facility designers. This list you see here represents over 70 projects ranging from high schools all the way to elementary schools. Some of those are, probably the vast majority of them are ground up buildings, but there's a handful of renovations, additions, remodels, that kind of thing. These 70 projects in no way are all that we do. We do a ton of maintenance work for districts throughout the state as well. So the 6 projects that Amber mentioned, just briefly up here, she said 6 projects, which we've done 6 for Boise School District, but we've actually done 8 in the last 6 years. So we've also done work for Jerome School District and for West Ada. Just some pictures up there of some of the projects. Amity, Mountain View, Valley View, Whittier, were all done on sites while, if you're familiar, they built the school while school was in session. So all of those were on the same site as their existing elementary school while school kids were there. Tore down the building after the fact. Pleasant View was on a brand new site, and Longfellow is one that was an addition to the existing 1906 building and ties that building together. It was 3 floors, the original building, is split level, so you had basement and kind of 1.1, is what I called it on all my documents, and then, second floor, so you're tying in multiple floors to multiple locations. And similar sort of situation at Collister, and then we're doing a almost 75,000 square foot school for the Jerome School District Elementary School. So
Just wrapping up.
It's a big one. They just moved students in January, actually.
And could you say, on these 6 you've got up here, what are the construction management companies you've worked with those?
Yeah, so Amity was Benetton, Mountain View was Kreisenbeck, Valley View was Benetton, Whittier was Benetton, Pleasant View was ESI, Longfellow was Kreisenbeck, Collister is Benetton, and then Jerome was Star Corporation.
Okay. And Star's just based in that Magic Valley.
For the most part.
Yeah. All right, so we did, like Amber said, we set up the questions. Feel free, like you said, very interactive, but we'll go from here.
You just answered that.
Yes. Oh, anything else you want to share about that?
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so, our firm's been pretty fortunate to work with multiple CMs in the Valley and, in the Magic Valley as well. So we worked well with Anderson Construction, Bennington Construction, CM Company, ESI, Kreisenbeck, and Star Corp out of the Valley, or out of Magic Valley. And, I can honestly say that, we like working with these guys. They're a good group CMs, that we work well with. And, we form partnerships with these guys to help provide the district the best product and experience that they can have. So. So they keep going.
Yeah.
Really funky.
Jump on a mushroom, the game at recess.
Oh,
So this next question, I kind of just call this your kickoff meeting. You know, initially, if we were hired by you, we would show up, you would decide who that administrative team is that we would need to meet with. And we really just listen to you. I mean, what do you want to have this school accomplish for you? What are the goals that need to be set? What do we need to be designing to? You know, I like to call it, what are your must-haves? You know, is it 30 classrooms? Is it 35 classrooms? Is it 2 gymnasiums? Where you just know that either from a community perspective or from a faculty perspective, there's no way we're going to get beyond not having those items. That's really critical for us to understand that. We always encourage new ideas, that this is supposed to be a very collaborative process. That would happen in that first meeting. Later on, we call what we like to say a vision board, and Toby will talk about this a little bit more, but it really is kind of showing you a series of photography, or even we take you on tours, and this is a solution for this classroom, this is a solution for this cafeteria, what are the things you like, what are the things you don't like. It really helps us understand then that we're not just designing you a cookie cutter. We know how to do that. We could give you a school. We want you to tell us what your school wants to be. So, you know, we talk about those past design solutions. Of course, we would love to show you ours, but there's oftentimes with clients, we go and look at somebody else's because that's, there's something particular that you really like about it or don't like, and you want to show us. So the pros and cons of going on some tours, there's always design shreds that happen, you know, after these meetings. We go through a series of design shreds and programming process, which really is the fun part for us, where we sit down with faculty members, we sit down with students even, and if you want some parents involved in this program, then that process, we really start to kind of dive into what the building needs to have in it, what it needs to look like, what it needs to feel like. At the end of that programming process, we create that preliminary design. We also create what we call room data sheets that get down into the details so that we're not misunderstanding what you need. You understand that we understand, it's all written down. It's that roadmap that gets established that we just can keep moving forward. So that a lot of that would happen just at a high level in that first meeting, but then moving forward, we would have a series of all these other meetings that would take place.
So the best way to encourage input from the patrons, school design, you know, in the past, we feel that online surveys that are sent out from the district to help with guidance from the architects, get some questions, maybe some graphics, truly do, you know, get them out there to the patrons and start getting some involvement. We also like to have community meetings, and then at those community meetings is where the vision boards come into play. And here's an example of one of our vision boards. You know, some of these, actually, so none of these are our schools, but they are just images that we have found that inspire us, inspire patrons. And so what we do is we'll go through, like Amber said, a certain space, and we'll give these guys sticky notes. You know, please place a sticky note on a spot that inspires you, an environment you'd like to see in the design of the school. We would have showcased the one that had all the sticky notes that the lighting was for, but it is pretty crazy to start to see that everyone kind of gravitates to the same things a lot of the times, right? So we find these very helpful, and then we'll take these and we'll review them with the districts, and we come up with some solutions. Do we want to move forward in this way? Do we not?
It's a super fun meeting. We did this with Cole Valley Christian just, you know, over a year or so ago, and it was a large group of people, and everybody got their little stickies and rainbow. And I didn't quite know how it was gonna go off because there were so many people there, but everyone had a blast. And at the end, we really did have some pretty good direction on things that people really liked and things that they're like, nah, that's too much.
Is that for the one that's going over by Oahe?
And it just gives them a sense of ownership, right, to the process of the project.
With that whole, the picture's worth 1,000 words, and some people have a hard time articulating really what they want it to feel like, and you can show them a picture and they'll go, not that,
They gotta
but yes, that.
Yeah, on that one especially, like it was interesting, you know, that third picture on the top. I think a lot of times people are always like, oh, we like this multi-tier stuff, that had no dots on it, like it just kind of was the, oh, maybe we don't, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds very innovative.
Okay, so one of the things about our firm is we've been utilizing building information modeling software for about the past 10 years. So we utilize a program called Revit, if anyone's familiar with that. And what's great about that is basically it's your deliverables at the end that you're getting, because every time we make a change, every time something happens, that model is being updated in real time. And at the end of the project, along with the construction web-based administration software, usually in conjunction with the CM, they'll have a program like Procore or something, and you can kind of see it'll keep an RFI log, or it'll keep your construction change order logs. And at the end of that, you get all of that information. So you can have, you know, your operation and maintenance manuals, which are huge in terms of your materials and maintenance and all of that. And then also all of the record drawings, which have been updated and tagged with those changes as you go along. So it's not like you're just getting the model and having to search for what is in there. And then a copy of all of your RFIs, PRs, ASIs, COs, and all that can be electronic and hard copy, depending on how you like to, you know, hold on to your information.
I think twofold is where we're looking at how did you build it, and want to make sure that we have the ability to always refer back to, you know, equipment maintenance, things like that, or, hey, you know, we designed it this way, but they actually dropped this, you know, pipe or, you know, whatever down this wall instead of this one because it didn't work.
Yeah.
And making sure that we get all of that updated so that someday, somewhere down the line, somebody doesn't start drilling through a wall and get
Find the
something
pipe.
important, right?
On the pipe that was supposed to be over there.
Yeah.
The
So,
design
you know,
said it's there, but we just ran into it.
Just at the end of everything, knowing that everything is reflective of what happened and that the paperwork matches what's in.
Yeah, I think that is one of the great advantages to the software with Revit and everything, because as we're making those changes or as things are done. Now, I'm not gonna say there's never a time in the field that you've got a subcontractor that goes, oh, well, this is, you know, but in theory, all of that should be.
The things we
tracked.
know about.
Yeah, the things that we're aware of that have been done. are
But do
always being tracked.
you have like a fail safe for that, or is there some level of effort that you've made to make sure that any change, like if somebody's gonna redline a blueprint or something, like, is that something you meet with people and get that feedback so you can update it?
Yeah, so.
They're required to keep a red line set of drawings, where if somebody just goes in and knows that they moved this from there, they write it on the plan. At the end, all of that then gets put back into that model. And the CMs have a big role in this
Right.
also. And most of them have embraced the online software programs because it does make all of our lives a lot easier to keep track of everything. So yeah, I don't know who came up with this question, but this is a fantastic question. I love it. I mean, I was reading and I'm like, wow, it's the shoot for the moon question, which is what happens when we start to do our design process and meeting with faculty members and administrators, and everything gets thrown out there. You know, we want all of these things. And I think, you know, how we would look at this is that, because you do get some unique requests when we're in the design process. There's never a bad request, there's just unique ones. So, you know, I would always ask you know, if I get hit with something that is, you know, a little bit unique, what problem are we trying to solve? What are you concerned about and how can we solve this problem? And really start having a dialogue about it, because I think sometimes folks just instantly jump to something that they think is gonna be the perfect solution. And once you really start talking through it, you can come up with what's probably the more prudent solution. So I think it's discuss, educate, you know, oftentimes there's things that we have to do that has a code relationship to it or has a constructability relationship. And that we just need to educate on that. I think some of the biggest requests we get obviously are, you know, instead of a classroom being 900 square feet, we want it to be 1,800 square feet. Well, yeah, don't we all? But somebody's gonna have to pay for it. And we've got to talk them through that you don't really need that kind of space. And oftentimes it just takes being able to take that question or those groups of questions and put them into a real life scenario and go, okay, see, this is the space and why would you need more? And you just kind of talk through that. I think the other big question that we get a lot is, you know, from a sustainability perspective, you know, should we be putting solar panels on the roof? Should we be increasing our insulation value times 10 because of energy requirements? And again, all good comments, but you know, there's a law of diminishing returns on a lot of this, and we just need to talk through that. You know, we get asked oftentimes, should we have a LEED certification on our facilities, which, you know, gives you that high energy level that you can then tell your community, boy, we're spending your money right. We've done that. We're already designing that way. And so I would advise you that as a client, that you don't need to spend the money to do all that. We're already designing that way. And I think it's just more education, really.
Absolutely.
Okay, so Amber stole my thunder a little bit in the beginning of this one, but that's all right. Talking a little bit about what sets us apart, and as Amber said, this is what we do. I would say 80% of our firm's work is educational facility design. We do a little bit of other, you know, commercial, we do some religious work, but for the most part, this is what we do and this is what we love. I think it's really important to understand that we really do enjoy it. And I think that there's really nothing better than opening a brand new school and having a bunch of kids go through that space and really just love what they're in and their excitement for it. So I think that that's one of the things. And then as Amber said, this is who you're getting. The people you're seeing right here are who are going to be on this project. And I do think that's a little bit unique. A lot of times projects kind of start off, you know, with your leadership and then they kind of dwindle down to the end, and that's not the case. If you want to call me, you know, 2 years from now, I'm still going to be the person that's going to get a hold of, you're going to be able to get a hold of. And I think that's really important and a little bit unique for this firm. The continuity of that communication that, you know, I'm going to pick up the phone. I know that seems like a simple thing, but it feels like that is also hard sometimes to have people do is, you know, I'll answer your calls. And then just our commitment to the project. I truly believe that this is the type of work that I want to do. And, you know, so that's important to me and as important as our reputation as this firm.
Describe the process for the budget estimating, preparation for a bond. Yes, we, you know, work closely with the district and the bond committee, whoever that may be. And we would help identify the needs of the district. And we want them to identify, you know, the must-haves and work their way down a list on some of the items that might not be necessarily as important as others. And we start to lay those things out graphically for you guys. We would lay out floor plans. We put together some renderings, maybe some fly-throughs, to help visualize what it is that the scope of work that you guys are looking for. We'd also, as we were preparing that stuff, we based on past experience from different bidded projects. You know, how much materials came in at, square footage costs. As we're going through the layout of the space that you guys want, we keep that in mind. We'd also lay out alternates in future areas that could be designed later, just in case the budget isn't all there. We definitely want to know that up front so we can plan for it. And then we work closely with the CM company, provide them all the documents they need so that we can give real accurate estimates for the scope of work that we prepared.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the key part is being able to have the design, you know, thought out to a point where your CM can take it and really put decent numbers to it. I think that's where when we see numbers go awry, it's because what everybody thought they were gonna get is not really what was budgeted for. And so that's where being really clear up front on some preliminary design work, even if it's not something that you share with the community, because that is another approach that we can talk about. It needs to be shared with you folks, that you know this is what you're getting, this is what the CMs are pricing for you, so you can really establish those budgets.
And I have kind of a follow-up question. I'm rather new to the process. And so I'm curious as far as, so see it, Dave.
Appreciate it.
And as far as comparing, and it kind of goes into the last couple of questions also. And maybe it's too pointed of a question. Is there a cost comparison between your firm and the competing firm that you're dealing with? Or should we feel like there's cost savings if we were, to example, go with your firm over the other firm?
You know, Design West is a great firm. You know, they've been doing work just like us for a long time. I don't think they overly design things to where you would be concerned that, I sound like I'm plugging for them, but no, they're a solid firm. I think, you know, we have a lot of historical experience which is what we would pull from. We don't over design things. We don't try to convince you to use a material maybe that has not been vetted in a project already. So I think we do bring that kind of value in the sense that it's not going to be this outlandish design that is now going to cost you so much more money than something that would be a practical design solution. I mean, we're constantly thinking when we're designing about your budget. Even though we love architecture, we love the things that we can do with it. There's certain times that, you know, if a budget just can't afford it, you've got to come up with the right solution. That doesn't mean you're gonna have an ugly building. That just means you need to look at your spaces in a practical way and apply that money where it makes sense and not where, you know, you're just now throwing money away. I don't know if I answered your question very well, but.
Yeah, you know, and of course, this whole process kind of gets to that. So there'll be more follow-up with other questions. So that's great. Yeah, thank you.
We got to follow up on this one. When you have, I mean, you've done so many elementary schools, I'm sure you have some, you know, some stock plans that this could work in a variety of different spaces. When you start talking budget, how do you look at that in terms of a cost to the district if you're reusing an existing plan, making major modifications to, because I understand there's going to be modifications to any plan based on your site and pieces of that. But if you're reusing the plan, making major modifications to a plan, or just comparing that to designing something new from scratch, how do you approach that from a cost to the district perspective?
Yeah, no, now I'm understanding your question. Yes, if we're gonna use a design that we've already vetted and it's gonna go through very, you know, minor changes, although there's always changes.
Right, of course.
That happens. There is a cost savings there. What that is, I wouldn't tell you right now until we kind of get into that. But, you know, for West Ada, they built our elementary school design, iterations of it anyhow. I don't know, we're 20.
24?
Yes, we do not charge them the same percentage that we would charge a district that we have never worked for.
Right.
So there is some cost savings there. We own all those designs, obviously.
Right.
we designed Purple Sage for you.
Right.
Granted, that's been 20-some years ago. It was
Right.
one of my first projects, and I'm very proud of it. It was a little while ago. But so yeah, there's some cost savings that can be gleaned from that. The only thing I would add is that, you know, you're always on a new site. You're always under a new code.
Mhm.
You know, so when it comes to your site civil engineering, structural engineering, all of that has to be redone, just
Yeah.
because that's prudent, but.
Your technologies have changed,
Right.
you know, so
Right.
those types of things. It's usually, I would say, more in our consultants realm, that
Mhm.
it doesn't affect as much as it does maybe ours.
Okay. And then as you're looking at, you know, we've seen several presentations from CMs that are, you know, they'll give a cost per square foot. And some of them, when they're calculating the cost per square foot, they're including the building and all the soft costs and the property and the what's the acronym for all the furniture?
FF&E.
Yeah, thank you. And some are giving the building, you know, here's the cost of the building. In your experience, and we're not going to hold you to this number, but in your experience, what have you seen as an estimate for the soft costs in the last, you know, 5 years or?
Yeah, soft costs have started to become, what I would call a budget buster if you're not making sure you understand it correctly.
Right.
So you're gonna get soft costs that can be certainly 15%, sometimes up to 20%
Okay.
of your overall project, depending on, you know, what are we dealing with when it comes to utilities, site access, road work.
Right.
That's where a soft cost number just gets blown right out the doors.
But what you're seeing is that 15 to 20% range.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. And I definitely, you know, when you start talking budgets, you really need to be talking that all-in number.
Right.
You know, don't just talk construction dollars, because you're gonna have a delta there that
Right.
you will not be able to deal with after you've asked your voters for the
Right.
money.
And I've lived in a district where they had to come back and ask for another bond because they didn't ask for enough the first time. It's not a fun.
No, it's not a pleasant experience.
Luckily, I was not working for that district, nor was I involved there.
I mean, we are in a volatile time.
Just a little.
Construction costs, but,
Yeah.
you know, these CMs and the ones that we understand you've been talking to, they know what they're doing. So they will certainly be able to guide you on that.
Perfect. Thank you.
You were getting so good at it. Okay, yeah, promoting a bond. I love this. This is one of my, I feel like it's a strong suit for me. So I want to give you a good example. I want to talk about Lewiston. So we were hired back in 2016, after the Lewiston School District had failed a number of bonds, a series of bonds. And
Starting in 11, wasn't it, that they had
yes,
started?
I think they failed 5 in a row, miserably failed 5 in a row. So we were brought on to kind of reset things, help with that. And we went through a very long process. It was a year and a half, almost 2 years, from when they hired us to when they pushed their bond out in 17. And during that process, you know, we went through a series of, you know, I think I was there every month, basically. Once we kind of got into a preliminary design process, having community meetings. And they involved all of this. They involved producing information materials, computer renderings. We did virtual walkthroughs of the design. You know, we provided all of that, you know, back of house assistance to the school district to be able to get their message out. And I was always present at those meetings.
And can I ask, because I know Bob Donaldson told me that told, I was in a group where he was talking, I think he said something along the lines of like 70 some odd cottage meetings that he held.
He was amazing. He actually went into people's homes and they would set up where they would get their neighbors, there'd be a dozen of them, and he would go and sit down. I didn't go into those meetings.
But what kind of support did you give to Bob for those kind of meetings? It's kind of what I'm asking.
All of it. We would generate, his promotional materials and, we would condense it down onto basically a card with talking points. And he would be able to hand those out. Something that was really easy and clear to send the message. The big meetings that I was involved in, where there would literally be hundreds of people at these meetings, where it was really interactive. They got to poke holes in the design. They got to ask any and every question they could come up with. We would actually have like interactive discussions. I would give a presentation, questions would get answered, and then we would break out and people would come and be able to talk to either myself or members of, the rest of the staff or the group, and then get back together and discuss other questions. And it was really an effort to get community buy-in, to make everyone understand that these are the reasons why we're doing it. We're trying to answer your questions, because they did have a pretty strong group of no's that didn't like what was going on with the district and didn't like some of the past decision-making. And so we really opened ourselves up to those no's to try to talk them why we're doing all of this. So the bond promotion piece, is certainly a huge aspect of a successful bond passage. With Lewiston, we took it way far. Some districts that we do, they want to kind of keep it a little bit more condensed. So, and there's rationale behind all of that can certainly be discussed. But we are your support. We can be out front when we need to be, when you want us to be. There were times when Bob would be like, I can't answer that question, politically. You need to. And, we had kind of worked out how to handle some of that stuff.
Gotcha.
So.
Thank you.
So talking about working with Canyon County, what we have found as a firm, the largest contributing factor to any smooth approval process is just early communication. It doesn't really matter which jurisdiction you're in or what you're working or who you're working with, it's that early communication. And so we have worked with Canyon County in the past, but really it's just reaching out, meeting with the plan reviewers, meeting with all of your planning and zoning people. We usually get a hold of ACHD, we get a hold of your central health departments for your kitchen. I mean, we hit all of these jurisdictions and all of these plan reviewers early on so that we're not surprised by something that's going to hit us later. And taking the time with phone calls, going into their office for all of the school district, Boise School District ones, we had a kickoff meeting with fire, city, who else? I mean, there had to have been, a dozen people in that room, and we would set that meeting up before we really even got through design. I mean, it was, let's understand what our issues are and what we're going to do. So, like I said, we've worked with Canyon County. We're doing a couple little churches and some things like that with them, but it's really just about how you communicate and how you get out in front of everyone.
And probably, I'm just thinking, if it's at one place, you're gonna have to have city
Right,
involved,
right.
the P and Z for city and.
Right. We have one site already that this district owns and another that's possibly going to be donated to us. And so both of those would have different municipalities that we'd be happy to work with.
Pretty typical.
And actually, even if you're in one municipality, the other one always still wants to.
Every time.
I have no doubt that will be the case here.
When it comes to schools.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it's rare that we don't end up with multiple.
Yeah, okay.
So yeah, when we were prepping for this, back in I had to go back in the way back day. I want to say it was 2006. The district had us do a quick layout on this parcel. And I just drove out there actually, prior to coming to the meeting, just to take another peek. And, you know, the amount of growth that's happening out there, you know, I understand why it is that we're sitting here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a little different.
Yeah, but I mean, I think whenever we're asked by a district to analyze a site, you know, we always look at the size. You know, if it's an elementary and we know the number of students that you're looking to have in that school, we get pretty close on that square footage that we need to have. So we always look at the size of the site and decide, is the acreage, you know, large enough to handle that. Public utilities is a huge deal, and this site, you're fortunate, you've got public utilities to it. Public road access, there's some work to be done out here on this one, but for the most part, you're in pretty good shape. The adjacent property uses, you know, we always want, if it's just a piece of bare ground out there, we want to make sure if we're bringing the school to you, is everyone going to be happy about that? So that when we're analyzing the site, that always comes into play. The required entitlements, you know, that's always a huge deal. And I hope there's not an irrigation district listening to any of this, but irrigation districts are probably the hardest. And when you're having to coordinate with an irrigation district and you've got a piece of ground that's got a lateral cutting across it, that would be a site that I would tell you, maybe keep looking. Because the approval process to move a lateral in the state of Idaho is painful. And then just existing site features, anything that we would need to be aware of. And out on this site, you know, you've got a decent topography change out there.
Yeah.
So that's also another piece. I mean, we love nice flat pieces of ground, but we don't ever get them.
Mhm.
So those are kind of some of the things that when we're looking to analyze a site, you know, we want to make sure we're advising you correctly. That if you're going to either purchase a site or have a developer give it to you, we wanted to make sure that it's right. And
Yeah.
oftentimes the developers want to give you a piece of ground that they can't put homes on. So there's usually sometimes there's a reason. So we would vet that for you for sure.
I never thought about that.
Kinds of.
Yeah.
They want to look generous.
It's just, some developers really want it to be a partnership because they know they're going to sell homes, especially if it's an elementary school.
Right.
So,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I've got to.
it's fine.
It's fine, it's on film, she'll watch it.
I'll finish that.
We're good.
Cost saving opportunities for school design. So we listed efficient floor plans at the top. You know, classrooms are the building blocks of your school, and you have the opportunity to make those classrooms flexible as long as you design the spaces, similar sizes, similar function. You're able to truly make those classrooms, like I said, flexible and use it for your current needs, which helps save money in the long term, but you don't have to create special classrooms for things. Shared spaces is another important cost saving measurement. The photo on the right is in the Pleasant View Elementary School, and it's a gymnasium with a stage. That stage is also utilized as a classroom and or music room. So just being able to share those spaces will save cost.
Really quick, what kind of cover do you have for that
Come
stage
down.
on that one? Is that a curtain? Is that a wall, a partition wall? Okay.
Yeah, it's back, tucked back
Yeah, so
behind.
it's insulated.
Okay.
So the playing basketball is not too loud for the classroom.
No, and it's got some, it's insulated, it's got some structuralness to it. It's you gotta have a.
It has a sound
view of
transmission level to it. I mean, are you gonna be in that classroom and if kids are screaming in the gym, can you hear them? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
that.
But is it muffled? You know,
Yeah.
lots of times in this design, that's the music room.
Right.
They can just sing over the screaming.
Yeah.
Communicate with each other.
Sing over the top of them. Yeah.
Another important thing is comfort, mechanical systems, they are, you can get in the weeds on mechanical systems and they can break the bank in a hurry. So just knowing which controls and comfort the district needs will help educate you guys and all that and walk you through what those are.
Maybe, and just so we're looking apples to apples, that specific example, mechanical systems and what's most efficient, came up with Design West. And one of the things that they stated was just having a 5-ton modular HVAC system per classroom was just a very simple, easy design. And I was wondering what your guys' opinion that would be.
I wouldn't disagree.
Yeah.
I mean, from a price point, you know, that's probably your most economical solution. Generally, those pieces of equipment are relatively easy to work on. So from a maintenance perspective, you know, where you start running into issues is those all have to go up on the roof. And sometimes there's some real solid opinions on not having a low slope roof and having mechanical equipment set up on it.
Sure.
We can talk through that both directions, but I wouldn't disagree with what their statement.
Yeah, just because you're bringing up how design and mechanical systems and maintenance, boy, that's really critical, especially if you're hoping to have a building that lasts like this. We're selling our community center, which has a stage right in it like that I used as elementary kid, you know, I was 90 years old. And it'd be great to have something designed that could be around that long.
Well, yeah, even having the integrated controls to monitor that system, and that's where you really gotta be careful too, because, you know, everything you add to that system adds a dollar amount, you know? So
And that's changed a lot over the years. Those control systems have gotten much more intelligent, but a lot easier to work.
Yeah.
You know, so.
just pull up and look at it on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We also put planning for expansion. You know, we know that sometimes, you know, we don't have enough money to do what we want to do the entire school. So we just want to make sure that we plan that in the beginning where future growth can be. It'll help minimize demolition in the future as well as site disruption.
Can I ask a question, Don? As you're planning this planning for expansion prompted this in my mind because right now we've got 2 elementary schools one with 5 and one with 6 modular units at it. As you're planning sites, and I'm thinking West Ada, especially like a West Ada, do you have plans where you plan a site for this is where we'll put the modular when it's needed?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
The city actually requires at least one location on the drawings where that could go because they know it's coming, right?
Okay.
So we try to plan for that in our design as well. We still show a location where a modular can go, just one, but then we also try to show where we can expand on wings.
And what we also like to do though is to say that we're gonna run the fire sprinkler line, we're gonna run whatever mechanical equipment to the end of a wing. Everything's gonna be stubbed out. Restrooms are gonna be designed, you know, appropriately, so you can go and add 4 more classrooms 3 years down the road, 5 years down the road if you needed to.
Gotcha.
You know, because that, if,
Restrooms will.
once we design that,
Yeah.
then you're not relocating utilities, you're not relocating fire hydrants, you know, everything on a site. So
Right.
we kind of do both.
Okay. Perfect.
Oftentimes, the relocatable will show up because districts get into a position where they just don't have a choice. And it becomes a construction timing issue.
Well, and so often we're gonna look, I can add 2 classrooms onto the building, but it's gonna cost me this much and I don't have that and I can't bond for it right now. I guess I'm gonna have to bring in a relocatable.
Yeah, you're correct.
Which also costs a lot.
Right. Yes, we know.
Unfortunately, yeah. Another thing is just to be mindful of the use of materials. You know, obviously we like to use regional materials. If we're using block, we like to stay local. And building methods is a big one. We actually will collaborate with the CMs, the selected CM on this as well, and some of their trade partners, just to get an understand of, you know, maybe the way that we're designing a detail isn't the most efficient or effective way to do it. You know, a recent example of that is, you know, we're designing these windows at Coal Valley, and the windows sat up off the floor 6 to 8 inches. And, you know, for that filler piece at the bottom, we were gonna do a pre-manufactured concrete block. Well, the CMs came back and talked to their trade partners and said that it'd make more sense just to carry that stem wall up that extra 8 inches, chamfer the edge, and you'll save some money. So relying on our resources and their resources is where we can help save some cost. And then life cycle cost is, you know, we want to choose materials that are going to last the length of time, but we also understand that you guys want to build a building. And so there, you know, there is a give and take relationship with, you know, what do I splurge on, or what do I pay a little extra for that's going to last me 10 to 20 years, or do I need to pay X to get into it now? And so we'll help the district educate you guys on that, and just to find that happy medium to make the project work.
Last one.
And I think this last one is just more, facility bond planning exercises. You know, we always want to design a functional and cost-effective design solution, but oftentimes in a pre-bond scenario, you need to be looking at multiple options because you're not quite sure what your community is willing to support. So that's just a normal process that we would go through with you. You know, we're doing that, well, we have done that right now for CUNA, and we had to do the same thing. You know, do we add on to this elementary school? What does that look like? Okay, here, what if we tear that elementary school down and we build a new one? What does that look like? And then the CMs in that pre-bonds phase will price both of those. And then you as a board are able to go, I don't know if we can bite that off. We send this information out to the community in a survey, let everybody decide. Would you rather keep your old school and add on to it for this dollar amount? Is that acceptable? Or do we need to get rid of it and come with a brand new facility for this dollar amount, which of course is more? And, you know, that's just part of the whole facility planning process that we would assist you with. And we do like, you know, kind of this good, better, best approach. You know, there's always going to be something that solves a problem. This sure is maybe a little bit better, maybe more square footage, and this is the best approach. All of those obviously have this sliding scale that unfortunately attached to dollars. But you know, we just go through that exercise and decide, you know, do you want your commons area, for example, to be at the best?
Right.
Because that's your showcase, that's the heart of your community. You know, people are gonna use it. Does the admin office spaces, can they just go at the good level?
Yeah.
You know, something that really is not a showpiece,
So
but yet functional.
So to restate here, when you talk good, better, best, you're going to be talking good, better, best on section by section, not here's 3 designs. Here's the good one, the bad one, not bad, good, better, best.
This is the bad one, we're not gonna do that. So, because in my mind, what I'm looking at, if you're talking good, better, best with commons, and then we're talking good, better, best with the classroom, then good, better, best for the hallways and the restrooms. And
It's an
you're doing-
exercise.
If
I
you're
think
doing that with
that's
each
good.
one, it's not just 3 different
I think that's good,
modules, it's,
because some
There's a
people
whole
care more
bunch of
about
different-
classrooms than they do the commons. I mean,
right,
It's an exercise to make sure that we're still designing to your programming needs.
Right.
We don't ever want to get away from that.
right,
So how do we design to your programming needs and still fit a budget? Well, maybe that means the offices are still at the good level, but the classrooms are at the best level.
right,
mhm.
You know, your
Right.
technology is at the
Yeah.
best level, your safety
yes,
is at the best
Yeah.
level.
right,
But these other pieces, you know, it's not design A, B, and C.
Right.
It's
No, that-
combination where
I
you
like
can
that.
save money. And the CMs help us with that, for
Nice.
sure.
I mean, do your bathrooms need to be tiled or can we go FRP, you know, I mean, where
Yes.
do these start
And
paying
it's-
off and trade-offs?
You'd be shocked with just material selections where you can really save a bunch of money,
right,
you know, and make it all work out. So.
Yep. okay.
Very good.
Very good, thank you.
Additional questions, anything that we can answer, or discussion, just
Yeah, I don't think I have any other questions.
I don't think I do, other than Lewiston High School's pretty cool looking.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I
Yeah, we're proud of it.
think it should be, it's pretty cool looking, I have a friend that works there, so.
Well, and we, as those that were not able to be here, as they watch the, videos of, they'll pass on questions to me if they have them that they'd like to pass on to you. I don't know that, I mean, we had gone over this list of questions pretty carefully in the first place, just to make sure we were getting at most of what we wanted in the first. And since we've answered all of those, I don't anticipate a lot of those questions, but if they do come, I'll pass those on. Any response you give, I'll share with the whole board. And then we're making the decision on Monday during our regularly scheduled meeting. That starts at 6 o'clock.
We'll probably discuss then too,
yeah,
just
and there'll
because
be-
everybody's obviously not here, so.
Yeah.
So
Which you all can watch on YouTube.
Yeah. I know, we were watching, we're like, this is fun. It's a good time.
I don't like this part.
No, thank you. We appreciate the time.
Appreciate you.
Oh, we appreciate you coming, thank you.
Yeah, very
And I know you had other things going on early, so appreciate you making it for us.
No, it was, yeah.
You're fine. Thank you. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you. Thank you, it's nice to meet you.
Toby?
Sorry I came late.
And then do I just need to say we're adjourned?
Lisa, nice to meet you.
We wanted to.
We wanted to do that quick summary.
Okay, yep,
Just
yep,
of the.
Yep.
Okay, let's take this a second and then.
Have a good rest of your weekend. Alan.
You too.
Even though we haven't skeleton crew.
Is
You
it all
need
right if
me.
we sneak up
Yes,
this way?
that would be
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Thank
Great,
you.
thank you.
I feel like we've been abandoned.
I know. We're the hardcore bunch.
You got it.
Happy to-
So I think, just,
You want to summarize? Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say, not necessarily the summary. I think whatever we come up with here, I can put out in a document that I can share with the board members. And then if there are questions, and I'll say that in the email as well. If you have additional questions as you're thinking through the presentations that were given, as you're watching the video, shoot those my way. I'll distribute it out to the contractors. So just so that we keep it all
So it's
as an
all equitable,
open
yeah.
discussion, and
Yeah.
then anything that comes back, we can present on Monday. I think between Lisa and I, we could work up a pretty good summary of what's been shared here today and share it out with the group. Are there specific things for either of you that you want to make sure we include in that summary?
As well as part of like a feedback or
Yeah.
everything we've heard.
Can we share that?
We want to give Derek a call. He did want to,
Does he want to discuss right now?
well, because he thought we were going to be discussing.
I would,
You want to just,
I will let him know
okay,
that the other two left, but
Yeah.
I don't feel like it's appropriate for us to.
well, because right
Even
now
with
it's
just
not
three
even.
of
a
us, I
quorum.
don't even feel, I don't feel like that's appropriate.
Yeah, we don't
So-
even have a quorum
No,
for
no.
us, so,
So,
I'll let him know.
okay,
yeah.
I'll let him know.
in fact, you can't adjourn because you don't have enough people to,
Yeah.
sorry, you're staying here for.
Yeah, all weekend.
I want to go to the girls' game tonight and I'm leaving.
Take it back over here, we're voting.
Yeah, that's right.
So maybe that would be the best is,
Could we attach that? Do you have a copy of that presentation they just gave
I
us
have the
to you?
two design firms. I have both
That
of
would-
those. I think what I do is I reach out to them and make sure they're okay with
Make
that.
sure, okay.
And I could
That's
do the
fair.
same, I could do the same with the construction management companies, ask them to submit those. And then, we really could create just a working document that is, what are the pros and cons that each board member could jump in and say, here's,
A Google Doc,
yeah,
that would be really good,
okay.
honestly. And then we would attach that.
We would attach
Assembly.
that to Assembly for the Monday meeting.
Yes.
Yep. And then that becomes a living document that everybody can see that is
Oh,
a part
I
of that
think that's
discussion.
fair. And I think it's good because it gives us good time,
Yeah,
because this is kind of huge.
it is. It's a lot.
So
And I think,
instead of in a meeting for an hour, maybe, if we,
yeah,
let's pray we don't talk about it for an hour.
yeah,
I think that at the meeting, 15 minutes, we'll be able to cover a lot of issues.
I agree.
Yeah, and, yeah, I mean, For me, the builder's not a hard decision. That's pretty easy. But I think that the engineering companies were very competitive and both were very good.
Mm-hmm,
Very hard choice.
yes. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
all right. We're adjourned.
Okay.
Turn it off.
Allegedly.